Hello, welcome back to the Healthy GSO podcast. This is Dr. Aaron LeBauer, your host, and today my special guest is Alisha Wielfaert. Alisha and I go way back. She's more of my wife's friend than mine, but we're good friends too because we've just known each other probably since the first year I moved here to Greensboro, and we met you at a the downtown GSO, like young, I can't remember this organization you were involved in, and met you there. I think it was like, so it's been 11 years or something.
It was
right?
a friend-raising event for face-to-face. Yeah.
That's right. So Alisha is a creativity and life coach and helps people with their transitions. And she was also a owner of a yoga studio here in town for a while. And then my wife, Andra, who's also the other host of the show, was in business with Alisha as a co-owner. So Alisha's a very special guest, and I'm honored to have you on the show. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It is just a complete honor to be here.
Awesome. So Alisha, can you just give us like a brief kind of rundown of like, what do you do and who do you help?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a coach and I work predominantly with women, every now and then with guys too, but predominantly with women. And I work with women who like creatives, entrepreneurs, seekers, and anybody who kind of falls in that. If you've got those creative stirrings, you're spiritually seeking, you maybe have some entrepreneur leanings and you don't quite know how to bring it to fruition. And so I work with women kind of in those categories. And a lot of times they come to me because they are stuck in something, like something just isn't taking them where they need to go. They're lacking clarity. They're maybe in some sort of big life transition, like empty nest or retirement on the horizon, or they need to change jobs, or they are just like, oh, what is going on in life right now? Like, I don't even know. And I don't know what to do. I don't know where I am or how to get there. And so then we meet. I've got a community so that folks can enter through my community where we do a lot of morning writing, or one-on-one coaching.
Yeah,
right.
That's awesome. So living here in Greensboro, you help people here in Greensboro, and you at one point you were doing like a couple community events. You're like amazing at like connecting people, but you also work with people around the country, around the world, right?
Yeah, so it definitely started where I wanted to work with people mostly in my own town. And so we, a core tenet of the work that I do is that inherently we have the wisdom in us.
Mm-hmm.
If we're stuck, if we're having a problem, our bodies they hold the wisdom. And I'm sure you see that in physical therapy all the time, but sometimes we need to be reminded of how to get to that healthier, happier place, right? And so I have a podcast, and well, it started as a blog post about, it's called the Wise Women series, and I would interview women who were doing something creative and most importantly, living from a place of abundance. So they believed that the pie was big enough for everyone, and if it's not big enough, we bake another pie. So awesome. That's where it started. And then it turned into really big community events, panels, and then it turned into a podcast.
That's so awesome. So how did you get into creativity and health, life coaching, or what were you doing before, and what happened that like pushed you into this as a career and as a calling for you?
So I worked in a prominent insurance company here in Greensboro, and I worked there for just shy of 10 years. Mm-hmm. So it was like 9 years, 6 months. And it was one of those jobs where it is like, it's a dream job for someone. It's got it's steady. It's got great income. It's got great mm-hmm. benefits. There is potentially upward mobility if you want to play that game. I just didn't want to play that. It wasn't the right game for me. And mm-hmm. I knew it, and I didn't know what was. And so, I went down that path of learning yoga, and that gave me some of the tools, right? The Eightfold Path in yoga teaches you so much. You learn mindfulness techniques. So you figure out how to chill out in your body and your mind so that you can really sit with what is. You learn how to make your body healthy through asana. So those things were great. And that got me part of the way. I opened a yoga studio during that time. And then, I just hit a wall. It just wasn't sustainable. And so eventually it came to a point, I had hired quite a few coaches myself and mentors, and they were great, but I always felt like there was a piece of what they were doing that was missing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, I actually think I can do this, and I think I have something that I can bring to the table that would be unique. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to make sure that what I'm doing is rooted in research-based practices. So I ended up going to the Flourishing Center and getting my positive psychology practitioner certification. That was a 7-month-long program. So I kind of married the positive psychology along with the yoga and the mindfulness techniques and practices that I used with other coaches, and just kind of brought this different set of assets to the table. And that's how it all began.
That's awesome. What's the number one misconception that most people have about like a life coach, right? Because I've known about life coaches for a long time, never known about what life coaches do for as long as I've known about what a life coach like that exists. So a lot of people are probably like, well, I don't need a life coach, or I don't need a creativity coach, or I don't even need a coach. But like, what's the number one thing that most people get wrong when they think about like life coaching?
I mean, maybe that you don't need one. I think all of us could use one. Everyone's journey is unique. And all of us hit a point where we don't know what to do and where to turn. In fact, I mean, I've worked with you when I didn't know where to turn in my business. I mean, having a coach moves the needle faster than anything else. So yeah, you can sit in your stuckness and figure it out on your own, and you will probably figure it out. But if you hire a coach, you're going to get there significantly faster than if you didn't. And there's just something about the accountability, knowing that there's somebody looking out for you that you can check into, especially like if you're one of those people pleasers. It's especially helpful to have a coach. Like, I'm not saying you should be a people pleaser, but if you are, you can use that to your advantage with a coach, because you want to do the thing for yourself, and the coach is encouraging you to do that thing for yourself.
Because you're also kind of contracting with the coach to call you out when you're not doing what you told them you want to do.
Yeah.
Right.
And the thing is that, we can't see what we can't see because we are in the thick of it. And with a coaching relationship, they're going to reflect back to you what they see at a bird's eye view. And you're going to be like, oh. And it's different from just friends or family, because friends and family, while they probably love you and care about you and want the best for you, they actually oftentimes they benefit from you staying where you are, whether they are conscious of that or not. And so it's not necessarily going to do the same thing to enlist a friend or family member to help you out in that scenario.
That's awesome. And I know you do this, I'm going to kind of tweak this question a little bit to Alisha, because I know you will. What are maybe 2 or 3 kind of prompts that you could give someone in this audience who's listening, who wants to live a fuller, healthier, happier, like more fulfilled life? Like, because I know you do writing prompts, you've done like these little like journal and postcards. Like, what are maybe 2 to 3, not just recommendations for them, but questions they can ask themselves or write down and kind of spend some time writing on or journaling with?
Yeah, I would say, like, write down happiness, write down health, write down career, write down, learning, purpose, growth. Make a list of the things that are important to you in life, and then do a little wheel of life assessment. And this is something I do with my clients all the time. Scale of, can I kind of cuss on this podcast? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean,
we'll make it easy. So scale of 1 to 10, right? 1, not so good.
Right.
10, like so great it could have its Instagram count. Like assess it. Like, where are you? And then write down what's going well in that area, what's not going well in that area. Because no matter how low you rank that, there's probably something good. And then no matter how good that area is, there's probably something not so great. And then, are you happy with that? Like, just plainly, are you happy with what you're seeing? And if not, ask yourself, what do you want to do about it?
Right. Oh, that's awesome. Like, how much time should that take?
It depends on the person, but probably an hour at a minimum.
Yeah. What are one or two really easy kind of tools that people use? Because I know, like, my handwriting is really bad, so I do more of my journaling and reflection like on computers or little apps. Or are there a couple other resources that you commonly recommend to your clients or people you work with that would be helpful for people to know about?
Yeah. Okay. So the insight timer, absolutely, which your wife, I believe, just got
Yep.
published.
Yeah.
That's awesome on the insight timer. There are thousands of free mindfulness meditations, and mindfulness and coming home to ourselves is honestly one of the keys to life. Finding presence and deep listening to ourselves, to our bodies, and to our souls. There is nothing more powerful than that. So, the insight timer is a good one because it helps connect us to presence and to ourselves. As far as I don't do a lot with apps, but I love one of my biggest tools, my personal Bible, is Julia Cameron's book, The Artist's Way. I just think that every single person needs to go through that at some point in their life, preferably sooner rather than later. And you might say, Alisha, we're talking about being healthy and happy. What does being an artist have to do with it? But to me, creativity is everything. It's how we do everything in our life. It's how we create our breakfast. It's how we get dressed in the morning. It's how we design our workouts during the day. And so if we're not infusing creativity throughout our lives, we're missing the point.
Right. But Alicia, I'm not creative.
Liar.
Well, I'm not Aaron LeBauer, but I know there's someone who go like, well, yeah, I can't draw. I failed art class.
Yeah.
I'm not creative. Like, how do people get creative?
Great question, Aaron. I mean, here's the thing: is that creativity doesn't mean artist. Creativity really means, like, if you're an accountant, like, what's that special way you put spreadsheets together? How do you help your clients understand what they're looking at in a way that they didn't before? That's creativity. Creativity is when you are going for a walk and you notice that the bark on the tree is put together in a really unique and beautiful way. Creativity can be really literally how you design a workout for yourself. So it's more about understanding creativity as something different from art.
Right. That's awesome. Is there anything different right now that you're doing with people that's different prior to, coronavirus and pandemic? Is there something right now that people need more of?
Community.
Yeah.
Community. I mean, I think that there's honestly going to be pretty long-term horrible ramifications from the lack of community if we don't do something about it, and if we don't pay attention to how important it is to cultivate that. So within my business, I'm offering quite a few different ways for women to quote unquote gather. And yes, it is an electronic way, but that's what we have right now. And so we have communities specifically, we've got a morning writing group where we do just writing down stream of consciousness, what comes to mind. And then more importantly, that's just to wet the whistle of what's going on in your head. And then 30 minutes to share, not to fix, not to change, just to say, hey, this is what's going on with my life. And then have the ability for someone to say, yeah, me too. And it sucks.
Yeah.
It's really important.
That's awesome. That's really important. What are you doing on a regular basis? Like, what does Alisha do on a regular basis to stay healthy, fit, whatever, like in your mind, body, soul, like all these things? Like, what is your kind of like routine, whether it's meditation, exercise, or journaling, or whatever else that you're doing now?
Yeah. Well, Aaron, I should probably give folks some full disclosure. First of all, people should know I'm not married. I don't have kids. So my life and I'm an entrepreneur. And I work all the time, but I don't let that stop me from eating healthy and making that a priority, as well as working out and making that a priority. So, I set little goals for myself So I make sure that, 20 minutes a day minimum, I do my own yoga practice, not a practice that I'm teaching someone else, but my own yoga practice. I make sure that I practice what I preach as far as the tools. I write morning pages for myself every single day just to take out the trash of what's in my mind and clear for the day. But more importantly is, I think really getting my heart rate up is super important these days from an endorphin standpoint, and keeping me in a positive state of mind. And so I make sure that I get out to run or walk at least 6 days a week.
Yeah. Awesome. That's awesome. If someone wants to connect with you or learn more about what you're doing at Yoke and Abundance or wherever, where's the best place for them to find you and connect?
Yeah, it's www.yokeandabundance.com is my website, or you can find me on Instagram at Yoke and Abundance.
Awesome. And is there a question that maybe I forgot to ask you that you think would be important?
Yeah, there is a tool. It's not an app. There's a tool that I love, that the most important thing that I think folks can do right now to make sure that they're living healthy, happy lives, to be honest, is to know what their personal core values are.
Oh, yeah.
And so this is an exercise that I take every single one of my clients through. And it is one of those things where you can do it yourself. You can figure out what your personal core values are yourself, but it's going to be a lot better if you do it with a coach. But identifying what that is and set that as your compass. And if you're not in alignment with those core values, figure out how to get there. Because until you're in alignment with your core values, life is going to be extra hard.
Yeah. What are some examples of what is a personal core value?
Yeah.
We all know maybe what is Coca-Cola's core value, or, someone like that, but what's a personal core value?
Yeah, I have 5. I try to encourage folks not to have more than 5. I mean, you can, but mine's creativity, health, growth, sovereignty, and there's another one in there too, but those are the main ones that I can think of.
Maybe you only need 4.
Oh, no, mindfulness.
Of course, mindfulness, right?
So, for me, that means that even though I work a lot, I actually have a pretty flexible schedule, so I can fit things in there. And that's just super important to me. If I have a friend in crisis, I want to make sure that I have control of my schedule so that I can help that friend. Right. Things like that, Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so great. Well, Alisha, thank you so much for being here on the show. Really appreciate it. So you find you at yokeandabundance.com. Are you on Instagram or Facebook?
Instagram at Yoke and Abundance, and Facebook is Yoke and Abundance as well.
Any public events coming up, or is that Corona got that down?
It depends on when this airs.
Yeah.
If it's within the next week or 2, I have a creativity course that's coming up.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Cultivating creativity. So.
Yeah. And that's not the first one you've done. So I know those are coming back around.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's great. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate you joining us. And this has been really awesome and insightful. And I learned a lot of things that I didn't already know about you. So.
Oh, interesting. Aaron, thank you so much for having me. It's a privilege and an honor to get to be a part of this podcast.
Absolutely. Well, this is the Healthy GSO podcast, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks so much.